People in Jamaica Plain are rising to a new challenge in neighborhood change. At issue are the changing face of diversity, but also the intense pressure of the housing market. Part of the response is to engage the community in conversation, which happened recently in the 5th Annual Forum on the State of Jamaica Plain. To tell us about the forums and their objective is a guest from the Institute for Policy Studies, the Director of Community Organizing, Carlos Espinosa-Toro. Thank you very much for being with us, Carlos.
Thank you, Chris.
First of all, what were people saying at this most recent forum?
So I think one of the main aspects that people were talking about is they were worried about the increase on rents. And also they're worried about there's a lot of development going on in their communities, in particular in Eggleston Square in the Washington corridor. And they see development and developers, and they would like to have their voice heard. And that's one of the things that we touched on at the State of Our Neighborhood.
Now, for people who don't know Jamaica Plain all that well, how much are these rents going up?
You know, roughly, I've seen, for instance, it's in rents not only on residents but also on small businesses, doubled sometimes from $1,000 to $2,000 from 1 month to another.
And we do keep hearing that one way to solve some of the problems with affordable housing is to build more. So I can see that people are building more out there, but talk a little bit more about what happens in Eggleston Square in those commercial strips along Washington Street and what's happening to the small businesses there.
Yeah, so I was recently talking to a small business called Manuel Felix, who was present at the State of Our Neighborhood, and he's worried because he had seen prices of commercial real estate going up. In particular, commercial real estate bought by City Realty doubled, and some folks facing eviction. So he was worried about that he might also get a landowner to raise the price of rent. And that's his only livelihood that he has, the livelihood that he needs for his family and his children. So he's worried about that. And so one of the things that the Jamaica Plain New Economy Transition, JPNet, the organization that I work with, a program of IPS, have done is try to get these merchants together, like Manuel Felix, to think about proactively how they can coalesce in a merchant cooperative and try to see how they can afford to buy a building so that they can have more control of that rent.
And how does this affect the people who live within maybe up to half a dozen blocks of this area?
The high prices of rent, what it affects is, for instance, for the commercial businesses, it affects because the people that live in the area are their main clients, especially those living in affordable housing in the area. For folks living around the area, we work also with people who own their homes. It affects them because as the prices go up, there's a lot of new development going, and they would like to have a voice. They would like to say, well, all of these things are bringing, but what about me? What about the needs that we have? So those are the other kind of voices that we've been hearing from the community.
I know these forums are also taking on the demographic change in the neighborhood. And at first, I don't look at this as a problem. You know, Jamaica Plain, it's diverse. People like it that way. They're tolerant. But I guess it's not all that rosy necessarily.
I think that what's important about the State of Our Neighborhood is that it allows for us to have a conversation about what that means. Issues of race and class are very difficult to discuss, especially in such a big platform. I think what worries folks is that, in particular the State of Our Neighborhood, is that there's a certain amount of a culture or individuals, in this case folks of color, Latino, African American, that have been building community for a while. And because new folks come or new developments come, there's a certain amount of, I don't see folks that are part of my community that used to be there. Where are they? I don't see some of the services that allow for my cultural well-being to be prosper. I don't see that. Where is that going? What is happening around me? I think that is the gist of the conversation.
Where do these forums lead to? I know you have this annual State of JP forum, but you have people come out. I guess you want them not just to come back a year later and just talk. You want other things to happen.
Of course. These forums leads to holding the elected officials that we invite accountable for certain commitments that they have made. For instance, last year, Councilor Matt O'Malley made a commitment about urban agriculture and composting, and this year we presented a report about what he had done in that regard. This year, many elected officials like Councilor Matt O'Malley, Ayanna Presley, Tito Jackson made some commitments about supporting a comprehensive development process in Eggleston Square. And next year we plan to hold them accountable for how is the progress going in those commitments that they have.
What about the housing needs? Is there much you can do to alter the present equation? Because yes, there seems to be that the city will probably approve more units, and you know there will be some affordability there, and maybe some more pressures.
Yes, I think we welcome that there will be more units, and I think that's what folks want. One of the things that we touch on in the State of Our Neighborhood is that in addition to that, things like making sure that folks don't just get evicted, that there's a fair process that could be followed and honored. The other thing is affordable for who? We're talking about, you know, affordability that is based on maybe the the metropolitan median income that might be a little higher. So it becomes affordable for folks that may be able to afford more. But what about folks that have, you know, 2 or 3 working class jobs? So all of those things could come together as well. Yes, we want to have more stock of housing, but at the same time, we also want to be able to regulate the mechanisms that are already in place that are allowing for people to be able to afford these homes.
Well, I know there are a number of organizations behind the series here, so if people want to find out more, to get involved in some way, what's the best way to do that?
Oh, they should really talk to the Jamaica Plain New Economy Transition, to myself, jptransition.org. In addition to that, there are other organizations like the Jamaica Plain Neighborhood Development Corporation, Eggleston Square Main Streets, the Southern Jamaica Plain Health Center, and if they contact the JPNet, which is the lead coordinator, we're going to be able to proceed with offering, you know, the different connections that we have with these organizations.
Thank you very much for being with us. Carlos Espinosa-Toro.